Burlesque Stripped Down, episode number 62. Welcome back, friends and lovers. This is Velvet Eau Claire, as always, your guide through all of the secrets, whether they're saucy secrets, sexy secrets, not so sexy secrets, some foxy secrets. Yeah, those two of us, the folks behind the tassel. Thank you so much for pressing play today, whether you are a brand new listener or if you've been with us a while. I so appreciate you taking the time to listen to my words and the words of my amazing guests. Today, speaking of guests, I have Foxy Tann, who I am super excited to chat about. She comes to us out of the Twin Titties, aka Minneapolis, St. Paul area, which is very close to my hometown. So, you know, we're two girls after the same heart in that Midwestern area there. So I have a great interview coming up. So I'm super excited to have you here today. Before we get started, a couple announcements. Don't forget, if you are enjoying the show, there's a few things that you can do to support the show. If you would like to throw a buck or two every time a new episode's released or every month, you can do that over at burlesquestrippeddown.com/support. That'll take you directly to our Patreon page where you can just kind of support the show, just, you know, with, like I said, a buck or two a month. I mean, that's all, you know, that kind of stuff adds up. It helps us pay for our hosting, for some new, better equipment and things like that. So you can definitely do that. If you would like to support with more of your time as opposed to financially, if you are interested in joining the posse, whether you as a team member, full-fledged, or just as an ambassador, kind of charged with spreading the word of Burlesque Stripped Down, you can do that over at burlesquestrippeddown.com/join the posse. And that'll give you a couple different questions to fill out so that I can get in touch with you and talk about what you might like to contribute. Of course, I always appreciate when you just, you know, share these episodes with your friends, your lovers, your colleagues, your students, your teachers, everybody out there who might be interested, whether they're in the burlesque world or just interested in it. Definitely share these episodes with them so that we can increase our listenership. You can also help out with that by subscribing over in iTunes. If you're not already subscribed, either in iTunes or in whatever podcast player you use. Personally, I like Player FM. And I know that iTunes, I guess, is changing to Apple Podcasts. I know Google Play now has podcasts and we're in there as well. So whatever you use to listen to podcasts, you can subscribe to us to make sure that you always get the new episodes whenever they come out. If you're not a podcast person, first of all, you should be, because it's friggin' amazing. And second of all, there's also some other ways that you can get these episodes all the time. You can subscribe with an RSS catcher that publishes every time, or that'll add my posts to your feed. That's not really a thing I do, but I know it's possible. But you can also, if you're a YouTube person, we have a YouTube channel. I don't put up a lot of videos, but we have all of the audio from these episodes goes in on YouTube that you can just listen to in the background. You don't even have to watch it. So subscribe over there. And you can also just make sure that you've liked the page on Facebook, because I do post all my new episodes on Facebook, and Instagram and all the places as well. So Facebook is Burlesque Stripped Down. Instagram and Twitter are Velvet Eau Claire. So those are the main big things. Of course, if you would like to support the show and get some free shit along the way, you can either do that over on our Patreon page, or this episode is actually brought to you by our friends at Audible. Now, I love Audible. You can actually get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial if you go to audibletrial.com/burlesque stripped down. So if you haven't been listening to audiobooks, what have you been doing with your life? Because it makes things so much better. I definitely like listening to music in the car, but if I can turn on either an audiobook or a podcast episode, it's just friggin' amazing, because it makes the time go by so much faster when I'm driving, or if you're commuting on the subway or whatever you're doing. So Audible's amazing. They've got over 180,000 titles that you can choose from. You've got your iPhone, your Kindle, your Android, your MP3 player. They're everywhere. It's pretty great. So definitely thank you to Audible. And if you're interested in supporting the show, that's a great way to do it, and get yourself a 30-day free trial at the same time. All right, now that we got those announcements out of the way, let's jump in. Let me tell you a little bit about Foxy Tann. Foxy is the Twin Titties premier event MC, known as the boss of burlesque. She has traveled all over the country, bringing audiences that certain brand of broad that is hard to forget. Loud, a little bit raunchy, and always over the top, she is definitely hard to forget. She's an MC, a performer, producer, writer, director, and educator in both burlesque and theater. The Fox has been at it for over a decade, and she brings you some of the best live performances out there. This is such a great episode. We get into a lot of deep things. Not only do we geek out, of course, about Minneapolis and really the amazing, if you've never been to Minneapolis, they have a great art industry there, and apparently a thriving burlesque scene that I did not know about. So all of that, we get into some things about, hobbyists versus professionals and how there really shouldn't be verses, but there's that, about making a living as a performer and the idea of a starving artist. We get into all sorts of stuff. We talk about feminism. We talk about the new Wonder Woman movie. As a little warning for you, it may be a little controversial, our opinions on the new Wonder Woman movie, but we get into all of that stuff in this interview. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into my interview with Foxy Tann. Yes, that's right, my friends. I have, and I'm so excited to talk to Foxy Tann with me today. How are you doing, Foxy?
I am doing excellent. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well. I'm in Florida, so it's hot as balls. But, such is life.
Oh, Florida.
And then
Beautiful.
Where are you coming to us from?
Minneapolis, Minnesota, what I like to call the Twin Titties.
Love it, the Twin Titties. It's so funny. We're like soul sisters or something, because I actually grew up, I was born and raised in Eau Claire. So just across the border. For those of you who don't know, that's technically in Wisconsin, but it's about like an hour away from the border. So I went to the Twin Cities a lot. The gay 90s was when my 18th birthday was spent there and all that good stuff. So
cute.
Yeah, good memories. But how are you? And tell me a little bit more. We heard a little bit about your bio, kind of, we know that you're in the Twin Titties and all that, but tell me a little bit about the real Foxy. Who is the real human being underneath there?
Oh, what does that mean? I'm like the real human being. Oh, very interesting. I am just a stripper out of Minneapolis. I'm a good Midwestern girl.
Yes.
Just trying to make $1. That's all.
We all got to make a living.
We all got to make it. Somebody's got to do it, and it might as well be me.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Very nice. So you've been in the industry a while, right?
Yeah, I've been, I've been a performer performing professionally since I was 16. So, yeah. I had no idea that burlesque even existed in that day and age. I was going to be doing Shakespeare. That was my plan.
Right.
I wanted to be in theater.
Yes.
Be taken seriously as an artiste. And I found drag, and then I found burlesque, and I was like, well, looky there. That seems like something I can do.
Yes. How old were you when you found burlesque?
I was in my early 30s. Yeah, I would say 2002 or 3 is about when, I think that's when I saw my first show. And it's really funny because Ophelia Flame was at that show. There was a whole bunch of people that saw this particular show in Minneapolis that led to all of us doing burlesque.
Really? Oh, that's
funny.
And
we didn't know each other at all at the time. And we didn't know that we were all at the same show until like a decade later.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. It was just one of those
Isn't
nights.
it
Must have been in the air. Something in the air.
Well, it was Catherine. Well, we were all there for different reasons. I was there because I had a friend that was doing circus work in a tour with Catherine DeLitch and Devotchka. Like, it was a Devotchka tour. It had nothing to do with the burlesque, but for some reason, Catherine fucking DeLitch was there. And I was like, what the fuck is that? She did her spider web act and everything. Yes. I was like, holy shit. And then I realized somebody's getting paid to do that. And off we went.
And then it was all uphill from there.
It's true. And it is a constant uphill battle.
Well, that's true. Yeah. It's uphill in the sense that it gets better, but it's also, I imagine it's been a battle, especially coming through. How is the scene in Minneapolis? It's not one that we think of as a bustling scene, but
maybe... There's actually quite a bit going on here. It's
has there always been, or has that come up about more recently?
I would say that there's been, groups, troops, shows come and go, venues come and go, but there's always been at least 3 monthlies.
Oh, cool.
A minimum of that, and now we have a weekly that's actually, which is really nice. There's a weekly going on now. So yeah, it's a pretty good scene.
That's awesome.
I think our quality is really high here. The people that come out of here are pretty exceptional. We, consistently are represented at Beehoff really well. We always have 1 or 2 people that are in the Queen competition. You know what I mean? So it's like the quality that comes out of here, I think, is higher than some places.
Yeah. Well, it's a really, I know, I mean, the Twin Cities in general are, you know, especially now that I've moved away and I've seen, you know, scenes, I've seen the scenes in other places, not just burlesque, but just in the arts in general. I mean, the Twin Cities are a great place for the arts.
Oh, yeah,
They
absolutely.
really are.
That's why I'm here.
So do you think that, is there a particular reason? Do you guys have like a lot of schools in Minneapolis that help kind of create these amazing performers? Or is it just, again, something in the water?
No, it's not something in the water. I think it's the fact, well, no, I really honestly think that because there is such a high level of just art, like the art quality in Minneapolis is really high. I know nobody believes that. They think what could possibly be happening in Minnesota, but like, well, you know how it is. You're from Wisconsin.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's like we're in flyover country, so nobody thinks anything happens here. But it's like, I think it's the quality just in general of like the arts that are here, like gives us access to better choreographers, costumers, like the entire range of people are here to help make it better. We've got really nice venues compared to everywhere else, you know, that are actually staffed with people that know what they're doing.
Oh, that would be nice.
Isn't that nice?
Oh,
you know, it's like we're really spoiled here. It's really funny. Like we go out of town and we're like, oh, what's going on? What do you mean I have to dress in a bathroom? You know? So we're all completely spoiled. No, I just think that it started off with Minneapolis was lucky with the first, you know, few people who started in the burlesque scene, and they happened to be really good. And there was a standard set very early. And I think it's great because, you know, our girls really do strive for quality, you know, and it's not just a book club. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's not community
definitely.
theater.
How is the, as far as like the diversity of the scene there? Are there a lot of different like subsegments of burlesque, or did they all kind of, does it kind of fall into a similar category or?
No, everything's different. We got a lot of nerdleskers.
Awesome.
We've got a lot of nerdleskers. We have a lot of nerdleskers, a lot of neo, a bunch of, this isn't such a classic time. I mean, we do like some of the people that come out of here, like Ophelia Flame and Electric Cute and Gina Louise, they're really classic and really good at it. And they kind of like, you know, feed that segment of the community. And then there's like more people that are like more neo, more like, you know, in my genre, more character based. And then we got a bunch of people that do like, there's a great show that they're producing at the Mounds Theater. It's all Weird Al.
Oh, so cool.
Pickles Kintaro is doing it. And it's like, that's such a wonderful show.
That's great. I love it.
You don't see that everywhere. But yeah, it's not all classic. I mean, yeah, it is pretty diverse. It is, well, I mean, in terms of, you know, burlesque.
Right.
Not a lot of folk of color up here.
Ah, yeah, there is that. I mean, I do remember that even just about growing up in, you know, just in general. Yeah. That's one thing that the Midwest doesn't always have as well. But
it's true.
Have you found it's been difficult? Because I mean, as a woman of color yourself, have you found it's been difficult to make a name for yourself in the scene, or has it?
No.
Good. That's what I like to hear.
Well, I mean, my whole thing, it's like people didn't do, like when I came onto the scene, they weren't doing what I did. So I was lucky. Well, I was also super lucky that I came onto the scene when I came onto the scene. It was so little then. I mean, it was 2006 was the first year. It was the first year that BHOF was in Vegas, was the first year that I went to BHOF. And it was just like, compared to now, it feels like there were 50 people there.
Wow.
It was crazy. Well, the Sunday night show basically was a shit show. That's what it used to be. It was like it was whoever wanted to.
Raise your hand. Come on stage.
No, seriously. That's how it was. Well, they were trying to get people to stick around for Sunday show. That's why everybody used to leave on Sunday. So that's why they made it the whole, you know, All-Stars or whatever. So I think that's very interesting. But it's changed a lot, you know? It's like, first of all, it's like there weren't that many people. There were like 5 festivals. That was it, you know? I mean, and nobody was making a living at it or anything. And it's amazing what a decade will do.
It is. Do you think it's overall, I mean, are you happy with the changes that you've seen, or do you kind of miss that kind of smaller industry mentality a little bit?
Yes. Yep. To both of those questions.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling as I was asking.
But it's amazing. I think what's really amazing is like the attitude change. towards burlesque. Like in the mainstream burlesque, it's like, thank you, Cher. Cher said it was okay. It was horrifying, but it's true.
Well, it's true. Yeah, the amount of, suddenly it's all mainstream. When I say I do burlesque, people generally, they think they know what I'm talking about. They don't always know, but they think they know.
Mean, some people are hiding their, burlesque identities, but not like before. It's very interesting. But I'm happy with where it's going. I mean, it's like, I can't believe I'm basically making a living at it.
Yeah, that's another thing too. I was going to ask you specifically kind of about your quote journey, I guess, or whatever, as far as like how the scene has changed for you. I mean, are you a performer full time now?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I do other stuff though. Yes, I am performing full time, but I also, work on historical backdrops for the Masons.
Well, that's cool.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I also build curtains, for theaters around towns. I do upholstery, then I also do, I MC stuff. I do voiceover work. It's like it's all part of the pie, but it's all creative. I don't have to set an alarm to get up in the morning. I just get up when I get up. I go to the studio when I want to go to the studio. So that's the important part of my life, is that I have control over exactly what I do when I do it, for the most part.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So people talk a lot about this idea of the starving artist, right? Which definitely exists. It's definitely hard. But if you have the kind of mentality, I like to call it like a multi-potentialite or multi-passionate or whatever, you can kind of cobble together livings that way. Me, I do it in the realms of both art and in education, because I'm also like a bit of a teacher, but not like a, school teacher or whatever. So I do tutoring and I do mad science and I do some other things and kind of cobble it together. It's definitely harder, but I've read some articles that like freelance is the way of the future anyway. So who knows?
Oh, well, yeah, because it's easier for corporations. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it makes sense. That's why they like contract workers. They don't have to pay for any of our fucking insurance.
Exactly. Yeah,
but,
it's easier for them.
Don't even get me started on the politics of it all. But it is a really interesting way to make a living, It's like, and not everybody can do it. Not a lot of people can deal with the insecurity of it, because it's like, I literally don't know where my money's coming from. But hey, it allowed me to buy a house.
But good for you being able to make that living that way. A lot of people, like you said, the insecurity gets to people. It's hard to do. It's not easy, especially when we grew up. My mom, my grandparents, everybody, they had the same job, or at least in the same industry for like 40 years, And then you look at people, of like the newer generations, and it's just changing. Mentalities are changing, I think. So
I think we saw the first wave of, you're not going to get to work at the same job for your entire life and have a pension.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people are, it's really funny when I go have my taxes done and stuff like that. And like my accountant is like, how do you fucking live?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I live pretty well, actually.
Yeah.
Or it seems to me, I don't know. Maybe I have low standards. I don't know.
No, my accountant was so confused because I was like, okay, so I have this project, and then I also have this project, and then I have this, and and all these things. She's like, we're going to have to do like 4 Schedule Cs. Like, I'm like, well, that's the thing. So, but it's interesting how, and we can go back to burlesque soon as well. But
this is burlesque.
Yeah, this is
that's
our life,
the thing.
Right?
It's exactly.
Because it's not just about looking glittery and pretty on stage. We have to figure out how we can support ourselves doing this.
If we want to do it that way.
And
that's
a
the
good
thing.
point. That's a good point. Yeah.
And it's interesting because there's a quote unquote divide in burlesque. And I don't really consider it a divide. I'm lacking a better word right now. But like what I would consider, and people are going to get really fucking mad because I'm going to say the word hobbyist. And then there are people that are actually trying to do this as, an art form and a living. Now, there's this whole idea that it shouldn't matter if you get paid if you're doing your quote unquote art or your quote unquote passion project, which I think is horseshit. Mm-hmm. But there is a mentality, out there of that. And then the other, there's a whole bunch of people out there that are doing burlesque for completely different reasons than I want to make a living at this.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of therapy going on out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. And I don't think that any of that is bad. And it's not bad to be a hobbyist, you know?
I agree. I totally agree because, I mean, these are, quite honestly, those are the people that are employing the rest of us.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Because these are the people that love burlesque so much that they decided, we have to have a festival in Idaho.
Yay,
you know what I mean?
Right. No,
and now we
true.
get to go to Idaho.
It's true. It's true. And like even myself, I guess when I look at like burlesque itself, as far as performing, I am probably more of a hobbyist when it comes to performing because I would say I'm a professional. I would say I'm a professional like performer in various ways.
Right.
But as far as when it comes to burlesque itself, if I had to define it that way, but I'm working to make a living in both performing and the adjacent stuff and everything that we need to, which is, well, to be honest, that's probably what most performers do because it's hard to make a full-time living just performing, right?
Oh, I don't really honestly think there's anybody that does.
Right. Yeah.
Not really. Not if you get super technical about it, because they're all teaching. They're all selling merch. Everybody's selling merch. Everybody's teaching. Everybody's on the hustle.
Mm-hmm. That's true. We all kind of cobble it together. But you're right. There is this idea of hobbyist. And I've said that before on my show too. And like, it's not a bad word. I feel like it's gotten a bad rap, but it's not a bad thing. We can be hobbyists and that's okay. It doesn't make us less talented necessarily. It doesn't make us less,
exactly.
It doesn't make anybody less of something. However, I do agree with you that they should not, any hobbyists should not accept less pay and just be okay with doing it for free.
Well, I think yes, I agree with that. And I don't know, the whole pay thing is really difficult.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Because it's like everything's different. It's different places. Certain places have other standards. It's very interesting. But, I think as long as somebody's getting something.
Right.
And if they're okay with it, then who cares?
Exactly. I'm actually producing a show in Gainesville next month, and it's part of a first-year festival called Gut Fest, the Gainesville Underground Theater Festival. And like they're not paying any of the performers because all of their money is going back to the festival because it's their first year and it's a nonprofit and all of this kind of stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm okay with that. We're going to collect tips and we'll see how that goes. But
right.
I'm okay with that. But when I've approached performers about it, I was like, here's the deal. If you don't want to do it, I totally understand.
Yep. And if you support it, you decide whether you're going to do it or not.
Exactly. So there is that, I don't agree with people who are always like, you always need to get paid every time because sometimes there are, of course, things like charities or even again, in this particular situation, I support these kind of underground things and I want to make sure that they get to make their money back and everything. So
absolutely. I mean, and actually, quite honestly, we're lucky in burlesque. I mean, how many theater companies do you see out there? People put months of work and then nobody gets paid.
Absolutely.
I mean, I started off at theater,
Me too.
It's like I was making $200 a week.
That's where there's a whole bunch of hobbyists, even if they would be professionals or they would like to be professional or they have professional quality, it's hobbyists and then of course now, who knows, with all these cuts to the budget, we're going to lose even more of our funding. Yay.
Oh my God. But it's like part of the reason that I was really drawn to like the drag and burlesque scene, like coming out of theater was entry level, like was super easy. Unlike, theater and trying to, you're like, Jesus Christ, you can just put up a show. And it was a really beautiful thing. It's like, it made money right off the bat. Not a lot or anything like that, but it was, but it's like, that's what I love about the idea, especially coming out of the art grant world, which is, seems to perpetually be operating at a deficit, most arts and, dependent on getting money out of other people. It's just a very interesting, at that point, I'd been writing grants, trying to do the theater company thing, and then just being able to like immediately do a show and have it make money. And it was beer, and it was only because we moved out of a theater and into a bar, and then there's the dirty word versus, of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, why can't entertainers be artists as well?
Absolutely. We're all the same, it's all the same kind of thing. We're evoking an emotion of some sort from the audience or evoking something from the audience. That's what it is.
Well, I agree with that.
We're on the same page.
Yes, exactly.
But speaking of like defining words, that's actually brings me to a question I like to ask is, when you meet people, I mean, granted, maybe, you don't meet a lot of people who don't know burlesque anymore, but if you meet someone who either doesn't know what burlesque is or who, maybe has a wrong idea of what burlesque is, thanks to a certain movie out there, whatever, how do you define burlesque for people? Kind of like in a short way that doesn't involve, because for me, I could wax poetic for like 20 minutes, but most people don't want to hear that. So what's a way that you kind of succinctly define burlesque for people?
Well, when, if somebody actually doesn't know what it is or have an idea in their head, I'd say old-timey stripping, think showgirls in Vegas. That's what I say. And they go and they get confused and then they look at me and they're like, okay. And then we just move on.
There you go.
I mean, not the most eloquent of answers, but...
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. That tends to be what kind of I go to as well oftentimes, is that either, Vegas showgirl or like even the Moulin Rouge kind of showgirl kind of a thing. But I mean, that doesn't, but I always struggle because it doesn't really account for all the, all the different styles and everything. I usually like, I don't know, sometimes I touch on like, the fact that there's classic and there's neo and all of that. But again, it's so hard because they don't really want to hear all that. They want it in a nutshell, and it's hard to put burlesque in a nutshell.
It is. It is hard. But there we have it. It's Vegas showgirls and old-timey stripping.
Absolutely. I like it.
PG stripping, not like on the pole.
Right. Which is a whole nother. I took my very first pole class the other day. It is not easy.
No, it is not. And it hurts.
It hurts. I've been taking Lyra for a little while, the suspended aerial hoop. And that is even, I don't know if it's harder. It's hard in a different way, but I got more bruises from that than I have yet.
Oh, yeah.
Pole,
but you'll stop bruising after a while. Hopefully. Your body gets used to it.
Hopefully, because I am very black and blue. Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah, I was in circus.
Ooh, awesome. Tell me about that.
Well, I had a friend of mine that I met here. We did a film together. I helped, whatever. She met her. She's a clown, literally a clown.
That's so cool.
And from Ringling Brothers. Mm-hmm. And she went out to San Francisco to work for a thing called Make a Circus and then called me out there to go work for her. So it's like, then I did, a summer of touring with the circus.
Nice.
Clowning. And then I got back here and an aerial studio opened up and I ended up with them. And so it's like, done Lyra and Web, and it's just interesting. It's like, if I would have found out about circus when I was 14, it would have been a whole different thing.
That is so cool. Now, do you incorporate that into your burlesque at all? Or do you
God, no.
No?
No, girl, that shit would kill me now.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's terrible for you. It's fucking horrible. It'll ruin my shoulders. And, no. It's bad.
Okay.
But no. Well, no, I mean, I'm not going to do it if I can't do it well. And there are people that actually do it well.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm a physical actor, not necessarily, an up in the air. Oh, the circus teacher at the San Francisco Circus School, he's like, you no monkey, you panda.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, you're fucking hilarious.
Oh my God, that's the best thing I've ever heard.
You no monkey.
That's the story of my life. I am not a monkey. I try to be a monkey. I'm not a monkey. I'm a panda.
I know, and he just was like, you need to stop. He's like, what are you doing? He's like, God. You are a base. Quit trying to get your big ass up in the air.
Oh my God, that is... I love that.
But one of the things, because it's like I taught for a while. I taught aerial stuff for a while. Yeah. And what I loved about it, and what I still love about it, or at least this is the way I look, I'm like, if you can get your ass up there, fucking awesome. You're better than 90% of the people in the world. And it's like, I don't care how big you are or what you can do. The fact that you're up there is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
Confidence, courage, and strength.
Yeah. And it's, and I like that, when we think about like monkeys versus pandas, because we do there is an element of playing to our strengths. Like me, I'm enjoying doing the Lyra. And I think I'm getting, incrementally better at it and everything. I don't see myself probably ever being a monkey. Like I'm never going to be a Lyra performer because that's, probably, things can change maybe, but I prefer it also to play to my strengths. If my strengths are being a panda, then hey, I'll be a panda and I'll be a damn good panda too.
Exactly. It's like, okay, I don't have to do everything.
Yeah, exactly.
I can get good at certain stuff. So, but yeah, it's a beautiful thing though.
Absolutely.
Circus, and I like the way circus and burlesque and drag and all these cabaret arts are coming together, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. So your style is more comedic when you perform?
Yeah.
Generally?
Yeah, I would say so. I'm character based.
Okay.
I'm a character based performer, so it's like everything is about, presenting Foxy Tann in a certain light. But yes, I do tend to go for comedy or faux seriousness.
Yeah,
It's like the idea of drag.
Yes.
The idea of over the top fabulousness. That's what I look for in performance.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Of burlesque.
Very cool. How is your act development process? I mean, do you have, actually, first let me ask, do you have, you've been around for a while, do you still come up with new acts, or do you have your kind of tried and true and the occasional new bit?
Yes.
Okay, good.
To all of that.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I was really lucky because it's like I'd been performing as Foxy Tann for maybe almost 10 years prior to entering burlesque.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I started off in the drag bars. And so I was what they call a bio queen now.
Do they? I've never heard that one. Oh, I like it.
Oh, yeah,
like
bio queen. And it's we called ourselves female impersonators.
That's what I've heard. Yeah, that's the one I've heard.
So that's what we started off as. And so I came to burlesque with I came to burlesque with 6 group acts already costumed and ready to go, and at least 10 acts deep that all I had to do was take off the rest of my clothes. So I was really lucky. I mean, I've got a deep rotation of I can pull out stuff that's old to me, but nobody's seen it in 5 years. So they become new again.
Cool. The old becomes new again. Things come back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the process right now of putting together hopefully 2 new acts. That's my goal, but it's, we'll see how fast that happens.
Yeah. What is your process for that? Do you have a typical, do you usually start with music? Do you start with a character? How does that usually?
Start with music.
Music?
Yeah, usually, because I already have the character. Mm-hmm. So it's I find music that inspires me that I'm I can do something with this. And figure out an arc, and then it's then you start costuming, but it could also go from costuming, because I build all my own stuff.
Cool. Ugh.
And I'm I'll get a wild hair up my ass, and I want to build this, and this is what I want to do right now, and this is, and I have this idea, and then all of a sudden I'm I need a fucking act to go with this.
Yeah, you can't have just a costume.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've got a huge roll of fabric that I look at on a daily basis, and I'm what am I going to turn that into?
Oh, that's exciting. I'm only recently getting into costuming. I've never been from when I was a kid, if we got a hole in our jeans, we just threw them away, or something like that. We never fixed stuff.
Oh, see, my mom made all our clothes.
That's so awesome. Yeah.
When I was little. I mean, they were such hippies. I mean, we did the whole arts and crafts fair circuit for real.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up literally in a VW bus.
Wow, look at you. That's awesome.
I know, they're fucking crazy people.
I love it though.
I learned to sew really early. I mean, and sewing was always something that I was going to end up doing because it's when I was in college, I mean, obviously I was majoring in acting, but they make you do something in the tech department, and I ended up in the costume department. And so that was always something that I was going to do. In terms of, that's basically how I make the rest of my living is stitching things.
Yeah, you mentioned upholstery and all of that and curtains.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So.
Big, huge drops, drapes, make huge drapes, that kind of shit. So stitching is the thing I can actually, that's how I save money. I can't believe how much some people pay for it. But, I do believe it because I do it for other people. But it's crazy. I can't afford $5,000-$6,000. That's a car.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Well, and and it's a bummer about how important costuming is. It really bothers me that it's more important than actual performance. A perfect example.
I agree, yes.
Was it's either 2 or 3 years ago, but there was this chick in debut at Beehoff, and she did her whole act backwards.
Oh, cool.
Her music was backwards.
I heard about that.
The whole strip was backwards, right? And she kicked the shit out of it. It was so people, they leapt to their feet, right? The audience loved it. And she didn't win because her costume wasn't good enough.
Really?
And it was the best thing that was on the stage that year.
Yeah.
And I'm oh, yeah.
That's such a pity.
It is a pity, and then it's the other thing is then people look at Beehoff, right? And then we are watching people's acts change. Out in the real world, because everybody's trying to put an act together to get into Beehoff, so they're doing what they think Beehoff wants. We're watching homogenization.
Yes, exactly.
And the organization, the organization could do so much to combat that, but they don't. And I mean, not that anybody has asked them to. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's so many opportunities have been lost that they could, they could promote like a completely different kind of performance. Performance, not genre, values. You don't have to be rich, it's like you can be a really good actor and still be poor.
Yeah.
But with us, oh nope, you got to shell out $5,000 or $6,000 before we're going to consider you any good. Fucking pisses me off.
Right. What would you like to see done differently? Just kind of making a different vision statement, kind of, or including a different performance night, or what do you think?
Oh, they could be doing so much more to support burlesque as a whole. You know what I mean? It's like, why do they let the queen dangle out there like that? Why is she not on tour? Why are they not subsidizing that while they have this woman, help the festivals bring her? Do you know what I mean? And so she gets to go and be the ambassador of burlesque. Why don't they have a semi-truck full of all of the fancy costumes and tour that bitch around the country where people actually want to see it? They could make a shit ton of money doing that. You know what I mean? And every single community that it rolled into, the burlesque community would be there to help them. And it's just like they could engender an entire, like an actual community as opposed to, being hideously divisive.
That's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it in those terms. Yeah.
Well, they're the ones that can do it. They're the ones that can promote. I mean, Minneapolis can't do it on its own.
Yeah.
BurlyCon, they're trying. Why aren't they? They all should be working together. Well, at least we're going to see a building finally.
Yeah. I'm going to take a quick break from Foxy's interview to remind you, my favorite listeners here on Burlesque Stripped Down, that Audible is our sponsor today. And they are giving you, my lovely listeners, just for you, you get a free audiobook download. You can get a free 30-day trial to explore it and just kind of check out what they have to offer if you never have before. Personally, I am a huge Carrie Fisher fan. I think she was an amazing, amazing human being. And so I actually downloaded and I'm listening to her Postcards from the Edge, which was her first book. And I just started it, and she is actually narrating herself. So that's been really nice because, of course, I was really heartbroken when she passed away last year. And so it's been really great to just hear these words. It's not really a biography. It's not really a story about her life specifically, but it's kind of inspired by things that happened to her in her life. So that's been really amazing to me. So that's just one example. They've got a million other things. I have so many things downloaded. I actually also have an audiobook downloaded in French, which is real difficult because my French is not so good and they talk real fast, but I can actually slow it down and I can listen to it that way. So it's been great for helping me practice my language skills as well. So definitely check it out if you have not already. You can go to audibletrial.com/burlesque stripped down and you can get your free audiobook and that 30-day free trial just so you can see what it's like. Just see if you like it, listening to it while you're driving, all that good stuff. Again, it's audibletrial.com/burlesque stripped down. And you can also get redirected there if you forget what it is. It's burlesquestrippeddown.com/audible. You can get your free audiobook and 30-day trial. Now let's get back to Foxy. It is a pity that, that's one thing I've noticed in some of the industry. Not everybody, and certainly there's great, but there does tend to be kind of a divide between a lot of organizations and things like that. And it's a pity because, we're all working for the same goals. And if we could all just work together to make those happen, it would be great. But
I just wish burlesque would remember that more is more. There doesn't need to be one troupe.
Yep.
If there's 8, that's better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better for everybody.
People
keep bitching about saturation, and it's not true. Nobody ever says that about music.
Right. Yeah. You look at how many musicians are out there. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
More is more. So.
Yeah. It reminds me of, we had Tyomi Morgan on the show during my season of Sex that we had for a while there. And she is actually a sex educator. And I saw her speak at Sex Down South. And her big thing is just there's no competition in this field. And she was specifically talking about, sex education and sex positivity and things like that. But I think the same rings true in burlesque. And granted, these worlds collide as well. They overlap. But there's no competition, People create these false sense of competition. And certainly there's some healthy competition, maybe if you're vying for one spot or if you're vying for a crown or this or that, which is healthy competition. But just in the industry as a whole, there's no competition. We all need to support each other, and more is more. I love that. Yeah.
It's true. It is so true. It's very interesting to me because, theaters don't open, and then proceed to try to ruin the other theater down the street.
Right.
It's very interesting to me. I mean, there is a lot of, and I think a lot of it comes from it's people's social lives. You know what I mean? Like burlesque is a lot of people's social life.
That's interesting. It's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point.
It's all their best friends. It's what they do together. It's like they're a bowling team. You know? Well, no, and it's
I like that.
And that sounds derogatory, and I don't mean it that way.
No.
But it's the kind of relationship.
Yeah.
You know, but then you've got this is also a show, and it's also a business, and then, you know, and you've got people that are taking things personally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are some people, like you said, especially when they're social lives, that they're going to create drama no matter what. And it's just a pity. Yep. It's a pity that has to overlap into, you know, because it is, like you said, it's a business and it's a show. And if people viewed it more like that, maybe there would be less of that. I don't know.
Possibly. I don't know.
Who knows?
But, you know, it's a super personal thing that's happening out there. You know,
it is.
To a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's a very personal thing.
Yeah, it's hard to separate. It's different when I can, you know, if I'm in theater and I'm reading somebody else's work. You still get vulnerable, you still get personal, but I feel it's different when you have your act that you've created and that, you know, you are literally stripping yourself bare on stage or close to bare or whatever you choose to do. And there's definitely, that's a good point. There's definitely a different personal element than there is in maybe just, well, music. I mean, there's some, but I don't know. It seems more intense for a lot of people.
Well, yeah. And you're naked.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So, and then, then there's that whole business.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much to get into. I would love to hear a little more about you particularly, though, because, you know, we all have the whole point of this show is to kind of, again, strip bare and be naked and all of that kind of stuff. So I'd love to hear, what is your current, your biggest mindset struggle? Because we all have these struggles, you know, some things are strength and then some things that we struggle with, and those can change over time. So what are you dealing with right now when it comes to mindset or internal struggles, basically?
I am trying to create, it's like the hardest thing for me in burlesque is the quote unquote, the be sexy hot lady thing. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, and it's so funny that it's like I'm in burlesque and that's the thing that I don't, you know, I'm not a girly girl. You know what I mean? I don't have that skill set. And so it's trying to acquire the look of the gestures, and do you know what I mean? But then it's like actually moving your head into the mindset of being the pretty girl. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Is it something that you feel pressured to do because that's what everybody wants, or is it just more?
No, I feel like it's a skill.
Interesting.
That I don't have, that I really should.
Huh.
It's a skill.
Yeah.
I honestly believe it's a skill, you know, and a lot of it, it's a skill, but the person has to have realized that it is a legitimate weapon. Does that make sense? It's like, I look at it in the same way, a lot of men will use, size to intimidate each other. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? You've seen a guy puff, they puff up on each other and a guy will loom over somebody. I'm like, ew. But
yeah, definitely.
It's like, you know, but that's that's what they do. And I feel like women that's our natural weapon. Huh. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I never thought about it that way before. That's really.
And I never learned how to use it.
Yeah. Because I'm the same. I have not, I mean, I like girly things, but I've never been I never, you know, I don't know if this falls into what you're talking about, but I don't you know, try to get free drinks at a bar, for example, from a guy, you know, I've never
I wouldn't know how.
Me either. Exactly. So that's really interesting to think of it as a skill to develop instead of something that's just you know, because some people do just have it, just like any skill, they have it innately in them already and they don't have to develop it. But maybe some of it, I mean, not that we have to develop it, but if we want to, it's something that's developable.
I think it is.
Huh.
I do. I honestly think it is. I mean, it might be a controversial way to look at it, but that's the way I mean, she's like, watch this. And she sat down and literally drinks arrived. She just looked around a little bit and then drinks arrived. I was like, fuck you. How do you do that?
For real. That's not even in my realm of possibility for me. I just don't even think about that.
Exactly. That's the way I feel. But now I also believe that it's half of it is mindset.
Interesting. So is there something particular that you're doing to kind of develop that or to nurture that mindset?
I think I'm going to... Well, no, not yet. I mean, I'm trying to work on the physicality of it, if that makes any sense. And it's like being really conscious of movement, of choreography, of, and working from the outside in this time, because I usually work from the inside out. Do you know what I mean? Like I allow what's going on inside to dictate what's gonna happen physically and where it's gonna go. But I think this one has to go the other way around.
Ooh, yeah.
So it's interesting. I mean, it's a different way of looking at it, but it's also something that I think, because in a way, like what I was talking about, it's a really external thing. It's all about looks. It's all about how you carry yourself, you hold yourself, and what the other person thinks you expect from them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. No, I'm really resonating a lot with what you're saying, because I feel that the same. When in my movement, it generally is just like kind of, inside out instead of outside in. Is that what you said?
Yeah, well, I'm going to work, this time I'm going to work on the outside in.
Right, exactly.
And
okay, yeah.
pile it all on and then see what happens, because it works for some people, Yeah,
yeah. No, I'd love to, I'm gonna percolate on that, because like that's a really interesting concept that I hadn't thought about in those terms before. I'd love to hear, for everybody listening too, if you have any thoughts on this. This is something that really intrigues me, and really I'm interested in this. So definitely, and email us and like let's talk about it.
Absolutely.
And I'd love to hear how your journey, Foxy, how your journey kind of develops with that too, because that's something that I may shift my mindset on that too, and try to look at it more as a skill to develop instead of something that I just, what a bummer I don't have. You know?
Well, it has to be that way. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it has to be a skill. I mean, some people are born with it. Yes, of course.
Just like any skill, right?
Well, just like any skill, or any, they have aptitude.
Yes, good word. Yeah.
There absolutely. We go. And it's whether they choose to develop it or not. And it's the people that have, and there are guys that do it too. Pretty people.
Oh yeah.
You know, and so I think, but I think there are pretty people out there that aren't pretty. So it's a skill.
Definitely.
And
just like with any skill, we can add our own unique, our unique skills and kind of piggyback them on, because there's not just one way to be a pretty girl or to get drinks at a bar. We can do that in our unique ways too. Interesting. I really like that.
Oh, I mean, I know. It's like, and I teach a class in it. It's like fabulous is a state of mind.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
It's the truth though. Yeah. It really is. It really is. And once people realize that, and then it ties into a whole thing about fake it till you make it.
Yes.
I mean, there's like a bunch of TED Talks out there and scientific, the whole power stances and all this shit that like tied, of mentality tied to physicality, which actually then can manifest it. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I've talked a lot. One of my favorite things to unwrap and to talk about is the imposter syndrome and all of that, and that idea of kind of, doing an element of faking it till you make it, Yep.
I don't know. I never see, it's really interesting. And I mean, this is going to sound supremely cocky, but it's like, I never felt, well, no, I don't feel like an imposter. Do you know what I mean? Like the whole time I was trying to make it in theater, it's like, they were the stupid ones. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I was like, you people just don't know what to do with me. That's the way I always felt.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've been validated from the beginning. Like I've always been told, that I've been told that I was good. I was good at it. And I had no reason to disbelieve them.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? And so it's like, I will always believe that I'm good at what I do. And it's whether other people want to see it or not. And I think other people should think that way too. They'd be a lot better off in life.
Yeah, I know for me, I definitely identify with that, because I had a lot of, like as I was growing up, again, not to sound cocky either, but like I had things that I was very good at. I was like very smart, right? So I had that. I did well in school. Like that was a thing. I also did a lot of acting in theater. So for me, it's like when it's something that I know I'm good at or that I'm good at right away, I don't really feel the imposter syndrome. I'm confident. I feel like you do. I'm like, they're idiots. They don't see how awesome I am. Like, exactly. What's wrong with them?
But I feel like an imposter trying to be sexy.
Yeah, when it comes to something that I'm not good at right away, or something that's outside of that comfort zone that I haven't been validated a million times for, even starting my businesses, even getting this, this podcast out there. There are times, hashtag vulnerability. Like there are times when I feel like, well, who wants to listen to my ugly voice talking?
Who am I?
Like, who am I to do this? You know, because it's outside of that, that distinct realm of possibility. So I think it's so fascinating, and just to hear different people who experience it and how it really is. I think it's present for most of us, just manifests in different ways and in different situations, right? And some of us don't feel it as much if we, have learned to deal with it, or if we surround ourselves in situations where, we have that confidence already. So interesting.
I find it interesting that I still can't, first of all, I still can't believe I'm getting naked in front of people. Like I am flabbergasted.
Yeah.
that is happening. No, seriously. I am like, because, the stripping thing was never something I wanted to do, or no, that's a lie. I wanted to do it, but I didn't think I could. If that makes I didn't feel like I had the body to be able to go be a stripper.
Yeah. Because we're shown one very specific thing in media, Yeah.
Yep. And I wanted to do that, but I was like, oh, well, I guess I don't get to. And now here I am.
Yeah. Did that feeling manifest itself when you started performing, or was it really kind of gone by then, thanks to all the drag and body positivity that you may have gotten there?
Well, I mean, getting butt naked on stage, I mean, I had to leave town. I had to go to California to strip for the first time, to actually strip. And then the first time I did, I was like, oh, this is not such a big deal.
That's cool. What was it that really did you have a moment where you're like, no, I can't do this? I mean, in that moment where before you went on stage, were you sure that it was a good thing for you, or?
Oh, I had to though.
You had to.
I mean, if I was going to continue in burlesque, I had to solo. I mean, it was we took our tops off for, group numbers, but most of the stuff that we did, as, with Foxy, Tann, and the Wham Bam Thank You Ma'ams didn't strip. And we thought that was really funny. That we were doing a burlesque show and not stripping. all they would get is like, bra at the end. That's it. But doing a solo, and it was different. I was really confident. We had choreography. I had 2 girls with me that were super cute. Yeah. It's like, but going out and doing a solo was a completely different thing. It was interesting. And then I did it and I'm like, oh, please.
Right.
This is stupid. What was the problem?
Right.
Let's get going now. And then I never looked back.
Yeah, yeah. So was it kind of, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but was it kind of like that, like you were, doubting it, not doubting, but you were afraid, but you were like, you knew you had to do it anyway?
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Well, if I was going to continue, I was like, you want to do this or not?
Yeah, yeah.
So you better go do it. And then it was like, and that was all my head.
Yeah.
Once I decided I was fine with being naked on stage, then everybody else was too. Does that make sense? Like,
Absolutely.
As long as I'm fine with it, and then the audience usually is as well.
Well, it's like you said, that kind of fabulousness is a state of mind, that confidence.
And even if you don't have it, you can act like you do.
Yep. And then eventually it'll, it's faking it till you make it and fake till you start to feel it, which works in a lot of situations. So
it's true.
Sweet. Oh, I cannot believe we have been talking for like almost an hour. This is so good.
Oh my God, we totally have. That's
Isn't
awesome.
that crazy? I could feel like I could talk to you forever. But I would like to move on to my last 2 sections, which I really, really love. The first one is called Pick Your Poison. And so this one I always like to do a little bit of superficial, just kind of get to know you as just like a silly human being. So there's actually 10 different questions, but I'm only going to ask you to pick one of them. So you can pick any number 1 through 10. It's just going to be a random question.
7.
7. Oh, good. What did you care about most when you were 10 years old?
Gymnastics.
Oh, cool. How long were you a gymnast for?
Until I was 14. Yeah. I was national level competition gymnast at that point. But, it was different. It's not like it is today. These kids today, like I would have washed out by 10.
Yeah, well, it's like a career now. You got to like...
Oh my God. It was crazy. I was like, I'm from the Nadia Comaneci days. Do you know what I mean? And people were amazed that she was doing a cartwheel on the beam.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure it would have been gymnastics.
That's cool.
I was obsessed.
Which was your favorite? Like which apparatus or floor? Or?
Vault.
Vault. Wow, scary. Vault scared me.
I'm a little fire plug, Panda, not monkey.
That's true. I actually, at the time, I did it for a brief. I never competed or anything, but I did. I loved the uneven bars, even though I wasn't very good.
That was my worst event.
But I just like twirling. I thought it was so much fun.
Scared
but then I became more
panda
bar. Panda bar.
Yep.
I became more panda bear as I grew up. But
yeah, it happens. Well, basically, that's what ended my gymnastics career was puberty.
Oh, damn puberty.
I got ass, and I couldn't do handstands anymore.
But you could do a lot of other fun things.
Yep, it's true.
All right, and then our last section is called This or That. Okay, so this is our quick fire round, and basically I have, I'm just going to shoot at you 2 choices, and you pick whichever one you like best.
Got it.
And you interpret these all in any way that you choose.
All righty.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
All right, Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts?
Starbucks.
City or country?
City.
Movies or TV shows?
Ooh. Ooh. TV shows.
They've gotten so good lately,
I know. Only the good ones. There's so much bad shit out there, though. It makes me want to, stab my eye out with a fork.
Don't do that, please.
It's just so bad.
Yeah, it's true. But there is so much good. I mean, TV has gotten so much better over the last decade or so. I mean, it's
agree.
Unbelievable. But, all right, how about Dita Von Teese or Dirty Martini?
Dirty Martini.
What about a Dirty Martini or a pint of beer?
A Dirty Martini. Or a bunch of them.
A bunch of Dirty Martini. Yeah, who wants just one? That's silly. What am I talking about? How about day or night?
Night.
Harry Potter or Star Wars?
Ooh, Harry Potter.
All right. I knew we couldn't be alike in everything.
I'm a Trekkie.
Oh, me too, though. That's true.
So I'm a Trek. If you would have said Star Trek or Harry Potter, I would have said Star Trek. But Star Wars is lame.
All right. Well, I don't quite agree with that. But I am a Trekkie as well. Which series is your favorite?
Oh, I really like TNG, but that's because I'm a huge Patrick Stewart fan from the RSC days.
Yes.
I almost peed myself when I saw he was going to be playing Jean-Luc Picard, and I'm like, oh my God!
It was so perfect. I love that. I love that series. Me too. I'm a TNG. I used to, I grew up watching it, and it's so
I
good,
can't wait for the new one.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm like I felt about the new Star Wars
excited.
movies. I'm like cautiously excited because, Star Wars burned me once before, but they made up for it with the new movies. But all right, that's all right. We don't have to agree on everything.
There we go.
All right, let's move on. How about top or bottom?
Bottom.
All right, mountains or ocean?
Ocean.
Classic or neo burlesque?
Neo.
Peanut butter or jelly?
Peanut butter.
Comedy or tragedy?
Comedy.
How about Marvel or DC?
Marvel?
Yeah, that's right. Although I did enjoy the new Wonder Woman movie. It was.
No, you didn't.
I have some issues with it. I wrote about it, and
the first 10 minutes was awesome.
Yeah.
And then the man showed up.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
I mean, and I don't care if he's the cute one.
It's true.
We like him. He's adorable. He's a good actor.
I got so much shit on my Facebook page because I posted an article that said why I was not empowered by Wonder Woman, and everybody gave me shit for it, and I was just
Fuck
like,
off.
okay,
if they weren't angry by the end of the movie, I'm like, what were you watching?
I agree. I will say, I mean, I enjoyed it in on one level, and I do acknowledge some of the good that it has done. I mean, I saw a little girl as I was leaving the theater, and she was super into it. And I was like, okay, I guess it's a step in the right direction. But
well,
we have
she's super
so
into
much
being
more
a
work to do.
superhero that needs to ask a man permission.
We have a lot more work to do. And what
I know we do.
Well, I don't want to spoil it for
mad.
anybody who's listening, but there was a line at the end about love that it just ruined. I literally burst out laughing.
I was like, watch Fifth Element much? That's what I felt. I felt like I was watching a DC version of the Fifth Element.
Yeah, I agree. Where it's like a strong female character, but not really, because it's still through a male lens and through a male perspective. And
exactly, and female director. I was like, girl, I understand that you got to get paid, but for fuck's sake.
Right, but it was written by a man. You could tell it was written by a man. I mean, great if we have a director, but there's only so much she can do because A, she's got to get paid, and B, she's got to, and C, a lot of women, I mean, we are raised with this patriarchal view, so a lot of women don't see what's wrong with it. Again, like I said, a lot of people gave me shit on my Facebook because of it, because a lot of people that I think of as feminists in my life, and if they're listening, they're probably going to get mad at me, and I still love you as human beings, don't worry, but they think of themselves as feminists, and they didn't see a problem with this movie, and that's
unbelievable.
Me. So
I'm like, how could you not see that?
Yeah. So when when I wrap back to like, I did enjoy it just as a piece of, although no, I kind of got bored, but whatever. But overall, it wasn't a horrible movie, but those like, and I also see that we have a ways to go, and there were a lot of issues with it. So
right, but Robin Wright kicked some ass, didn't she?
That is true. She's badass.
She's so good.
Okay, anyway, not so much quickfire when I get started talking about geeky stuff and feminism.
I
Yay!
know, well, and I went down the rabbit hole with you, dear.
But I feel I actually was talking with, oh God, who was it? I think it was Dr. Liz, who is also a sex educator that came on for the season of Sex. And we were talking about how we really should just have an entire podcast talking about feminism in pop culture, because that needs to happen.
I agree. Mm-hmm. No, I do. I agree with that. I think it should happen.
I think it'd be really interesting to get into, but we'll see if I end up ever have any time to start a new podcast, because it's a lot of work.
It is, I bet.
All right. Anyway, I got two more this or that. How about heels or bare feet?
Ooh, bare feet.
And lastly, the ever important, sleep or sex? I know.
Sleep.
I noticed you whispered that.
I did.
Sleep is so nice. It's so nice. I do enjoy sex, but sleep is also a great thing.
Oh, I get excited about it. I get really excited to go to sleep sometimes. I'm like, ooh.
I know. It is very good. I enjoy it.
Oh, but my husband hates me because it's like he has problems falling asleep, and I literally I'm like a light switch.
Oh, you're out.
I decide I'm going to sleep.
Oh yeah, that would drive me crazy.
And I'm out. He gets mad.
Oh. Are you the type that can sleep anywhere also?
Yes, and that makes him angry too. It's like we were on our way to Vegas one year and there was an accident, and so the road was blocked for 8 hours overnight.
Shit. Jesus.
And I literally I pulled my pillow out of the back seat and put a little blanket on the ground, and I went to sleep, and he was like, I hate you.
Oh,
I can't believe you went to bed.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
It's a talent.
You are so lucky. See, we all have our talents.
It's true.
All right. Well, as we wrap up, I'd love to hear, of course, audio podcasts are great, but the visual aspect is really fun as well. Do you have any YouTube videos that you'd like to share, whether they're, ones of you, of acts that you really love, or other ones that you can't get enough of right now?
Well, I've got a bunch of acts out there that you could, but what do I want? What was I don't know. I've been it's really interesting. I don't watch a lot of YouTube stuff. Mm-hmm. I don't tend not to Google people's performances unless I absolutely have to.
Yeah.
Because I personally, I don't think video is really representative.
I agree.
Of a live performance.
Yeah, it's so much different in person.
It really is. And so it's I feel like I haven't seen somebody until I've actually seen them in person.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
But what am I into right now? I'm who do I really like? It's there's been some crazy drag acts that I've been watching, not old school, way old. Drag queens coming out of the ceiling and dropping into splits and shit like that.
Jeez, that's amazing.
Yeah, I know. I so wish I had the death drop, but I just can't do it.
Yeah, I imagine it's not easy. I can imagine.
So that's the best I can answer that one. I'm sorry.
That's great. No, that's great. If you have a second and you want to email me a couple, anything.
Oh, totally.
That way, for anybody listening, if you want to see some of the stuff she's talking about, you can head over to the show notes page for this episode, which will be at burlesquestrippeddown.com/Foxy, Foxy. And you'll be able to get all the links for some of the stuff that we've chatted about, as well as I'll go ahead and I'll embed some of those videos. Maybe we can find a good one of you performing, maybe one of your favorites, Foxy.
Oh, yeah. And you can just go to foxytann.net. So
Perfect.
It's foxytann.net.
Awesome.
And you'll be able to see videos and biographies and pictures and all things Foxy Tann.
Fabulous. Yeah, I was just going to ask about that too. Do you social media? Are you on the medias? Is there a good place to get a hold of you?
But yeah, it is actually. It is a good place to get a hold of me. You can, it's easy to find me on Facebook. I also go under my government name, which is Heather Wilson. Well, I don't have any separation.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, actually, Facebook forced me to not have any separation.
Right. Yeah, because they're assholes.
So
I love Facebook, but they frustrate me a lot. So yeah, I have the same. I have my Velvet Eau Claire is kind of like a nickname under my main profile name. And
exactly.
Because it's just, it's easier that way. But
it is. It's true.
Well, for everybody listening, I will put all those links if you forget how to spell or anything. I mean, it's a pretty easy Foxy Tann. It's a pretty easy name to spell. But if you forget anything, all the show notes will be all the links will be in the show notes for this episode. So you'll be able to find everything right there, along with everything we're talking about and some pictures and her bio and all that good stuff. And then when you're on YouTube, just so everybody knows, if you're interested, because I always ask, if you listen to podcasts, definitely take some time, not just to listen to this episode, but to subscribe to the show. And if you prefer to watch things or listen to things on YouTube, we actually have a YouTube channel as well. I don't really do much. I pretty much just put the audio of each of these episodes up there. But if that's your preferred way of consumption of this kind of stuff, definitely you can subscribe to that channel and see all the new, there's not much to watch, but that you can at least listen to all these new episodes. So
right on. That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'm trying to be out there, because I'm not a huge YouTube person, but I know that other people are. They subscribe to things and they do that. So I'm around. I'm everywhere.
Right on.
Well, Foxy, it's been really amazing chatting with you today. I really enjoyed getting into all of that.
Amazing chatting with you as well, darling.
So cool. Is there anything else that you wanted to kind of share with the world, with the Burlesque Stripped Down audience before we sign off?
Go see more shows.
Yes. See all the shows.
Go see shows, not just watch people on YouTube.
Yep. I agree.
Travel.
Person. Yes.
Go see stuff.
Yes. Speaking of traveling, I actually am planning a trip up to Wisconsin and Minneapolis later this summer.
Really?
So I may have to be in touch with you to find out what shows are going on.
You best.
Yay.
Give a girl a call.
Definitely. And for anybody else who's I'm planning to go into, Chicago and then up to obviously my home in Eau Claire and then over to Minneapolis. So I'd love to see some people. So it'd be awesome.
We can make that happen.
Sweet. All right. Well, thank you again so much for being on the show today. And we will chat again, hopefully sometime very soon.
All right. You are welcome, and thank you for having me.
And there you have it, my friends. Not too shabby, eh? As, again, I feel like I say this all the time, but I think we could have talked for a very long time. And I am thinking that, man, if only I had more hours in the day, that a show about feminism and these pop culture things would be a very interesting thing. I hope you enjoyed listening to our conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. Thank you again to Foxy for being on the show, and thank you to you all for listening. Definitely check out the show notes for this episode over at burlesquestrippeddown.com/Foxy, Foxy. And if you have any comments, if you'd like to, chat about some of the things we talked about, I was really, really intrigued by what she was saying as far as, the idea of it being a skill to have that femininity or that quote pretty girl, which I don't love saying it that way, but it's really interesting the way that she put it. And so I'd love to kind of continue that conversation. If you had any thoughts on that, you can do that right in the comment section over on that show notes page, burlesquestrippeddown.com/Foxy, or you can email me directly, velvet@burlesquestrippeddown.com. I can share it with Foxy and we can chat that way. Would love to hear any of your thoughts, my friends. Thank you so much again for listening. Don't forget you can support the show over on Patreon, burlesquestrippeddown.com/support, or with your time, burlesquestrippeddown.com/join the posse. Please share this episode away, subscribe, rate, and review. Ooh, that's what I forgot to talk about in the beginning, right? Rating and reviewing. If you do use iTunes, any sort of reviews that you can give there. First of all, they let me know that you're listening and that you love me, or maybe you have some constructive criticism. That's okay too. I like to hear it. But those rating and reviews help us kind of get up a little higher in the search ranking. So if anybody's searching for burlesque, I would love it if they saw our podcast first. So you can definitely help out by doing those things. Tune in over the next few weeks. We have more interviews coming at you. If you are interested in being on the show or you know anyone who is, send me an email. I am looking to record a whole bunch of episodes. This is 2017. If you're listening in the future, sorry, you missed out. But if you are listening to this, kind of in the present for me, definitely send me an email. I would love to talk to as many people as we can. I hope you are having a fantastic summer, and make sure, as always, that you stay sexy.